The banking system is structurally designed to reject first-time builders. You need a loan to build experience, but you need experience to get a loan. That's a trap, and almost nobody warns you about it before you sit down at the bank. I'm not a construction loan manager, and I'm not a builder by myself, but I've been working with custom builders in Austin, Texas and other states for years. And for example, I've shot hundreds of videos with one of my friends, custom home builder Igor Stepan. You'll find his channel link in the description. He hit this exact wall when he started, and his story is a proof that this trap is real and that there is a way out. And today I'm going to walk you through why this trap exists and the 4 ways first-time builders actually break the cycle. Let's go! I vividly remember the moment when Igor first came to America. He had money, he had plan, and he had the skills. He had built much bigger project back home in Europe. But here, no one of that mattered. No US credit history, no US bill history, nothing on paper. So he started taking meetings, lunch after lunch, with big banks, with private lenders, with hard money guys. 60 meetings. Every single one ended the same way. We'll like you, but come back after you've built something here. He couldn't get money to build, and he couldn't build without money. So he did the only thing left. He paid cash. Built his first house out of pocket. And while he was doing his first open house for that finished home, a private lender walked in, looked around, and said, "We are ready to give you your first loan." Guys, that's how he broke the cycle. And that's not a fluke, it's a pattern. And here is exactly what is happening. Here is what actually going on side of the bank. When you ask for a construction loan, you're asking the bank to fund an asset that doesn't exist yet. There is no building, no collateral, no proof. All they have is you, an asset of drawings. Trust me, they protect themselves by checking boxes. They want to see 2 or more completed ground-up buildings in the last few years. They want to call your suppliers and your past clients. They want a minimum 680 credit score, a clean LLC, and 10 to 20% of the total project cost sitting verified in your business account. Underwriters aren't checking if you're a good builder or a good person. They are checking boxes to protect the bank from asset that doesn't exist. Why I know about this? Because I'm working with several builders, I'm talking directly with the loan managers, and I know how they do it. So if you don't have those boxes checked, and almost no first-time builders does, they say no. It's not personal, it's structural. So the way out is to give the bank a different set of boxes to check or skip the bank entirely. And here are 4 ways first-time builders actually do it. The first option is the one my friend Igor used. You pay cash for your first build. It's brutal. You're trying up everything you have in your project with no leverage and no safety net. But it works for one reason. Once you have completed and sold that build, you have a paper trail. You have proven to the next lender that you can actually deliver and you can actually sell. And this is not for everyone. You need real liquidity and you need to be willing to slow down for a year or 2 while you complete project number 1. But if you have the capital, this is the cleanest path. No partners, no co-signers, no compromises on profit. I usually tell the clients that if you have got the cash for it, do it small. Don't burn your reserve on $1 million custom home for your first one. Build something modest you can sell quickly and learn from it. Way number 2. The general contractor partnership. This is the most powerful option and the one most first-time builders don't know about. So usually you set up your own LLC, but for your first project you bring on a veteran general contractor, someone with a long track record, and you add them to the project as the official builder of record. The loan still goes through your LLC, but when the bank's underwriter evaluates the application, they are looking at the GC's history, not a blank slate, right? That's the hub. You are not borrowing money, you are borrowing the trust. Of course you pay for it, of course you share some profit. And I had a client recently, let's call him Raj, he was from Dallas. He wanted to come straight out of the gate with $1 million custom build. I told him the truth, the bank will reject you on day one, no matter how good your numbers look. So we walk through this exact option, find a GC who is willing to attach their name and reputation to the project in exchange for a fee or a piece of the upside. So the bank approves the loan based on the GC's history. The project gets built. And here is the part that most builders miss. So while a GC is doing heavy lifting on the build, your LLC is still the entity that owns the project, manages its own paper, and ultimately sell it. While the general contractor is doing the heavy lifting on the build, your LLC is still the entity that owns the project, manages its own paper, and ultimately sells it. So when the project number 2 comes around, you have your own documentation, you have your own history. You manage a build, you sold it, you have one on your record. So by project number 3, you don't need a GC anymore, right? You drop them, you take the full margin, and you walk into the bank as a real builder with a real history. So the hard part isn't just finding the right GC. You need someone willing to actually co-sign on the LLC with you, putting their own name and personal guarantee on the line, and who has a real building experience banks want to see. That's a lot to ask of anyone, I understand. It takes serious trust on both sides. It's like a marriage. Get the legal structure tight and pick someone you already have a strong working relationship with. Okay, way number 3, the Fix-and-Flip Detour. I know. The third option is to skip a new construction entirely for your first project and run a fix and flip instead. You set up your LLC, buy a distressed property, renovate it, and sell it. The banks see this on your LLC record as a completed real estate project. It's not ground-up build, but most lenders will count it as a relevant experience when you eventually apply for construction loan. This is the best I recommend for builders who don't have the capital for an all-cash new build, but do have enough to put down on a flip. You're learning operational side, managing subs, hitting deadlines, dealing with inspectors, without the risk profile of a ground-up building. Everything that you're doing in real life when you're building house from scratch, right? 2 or 3 flips under your LLC and you walk into the most private lenders with a real story. Some will start treating you almost like a regular builder. I discussed this type of solution with a loan manager who has a very strong experience in Austin, Texas and all over US, and she told me it works. Way number 4, let's call it cheap build. This is an option I lean on the hardest with the first-time clients, and it's on the most people resist. Instead of starting with the dream project, the $1 million custom home, the luxury spec on the hillside, you build something small. 200,000, maybe 250 max, modest spec home, modest neighborhood. You build it as fast and lean as you can. You sell it. It's most important, you sell it. And here is the part that is hard for builders to hear. Making money on the first project isn't the goal. Break even is fine. Even a small loss can be worse. The goal is to walk away with a completed, ground-up build under your name and a successful project history that banks recognize and trust. That single completed project changes every conversation you have with the lender going forward. So Raj, the client I mentioned earlier, this was option 4 on the list I sent him. I told him, you are starting with a $1 million commitment as your first project. That's a massive bet on a system that's set up to reject you. What if instead you spend 6 to 9 months on a small build at the lower margin and walk into the project with real experience and relationship with a list of contractors and with a good reputation for private lenders? And most first-time builders will not do this. Their ego wants the big project, but the ones who do almost always come out ahead. And there is one more skip pass. Now, here is the bonus answer for the people who don't want to play the long game. You can skip the bank entirely. Private lending works with the first-time builders, right? The rates are high, of course, from 9 to 12% instead of 7 to 8. And they want to see a solid liquidity, but they accept zero experience. For a lot of first-time builders, that's actually a starting point, not big banks like Wells Fargo, Bank of America and other. The other option that you may find interesting is a macro syndication. You pull capital from small private investors, 5,000, 10,000, 100,000, and they share in profit of the build instead of charging you monthly interest. You don't have a bank breathing down your neck if permits take 18 months. You don't have monthly debt payments eating your margin while you wait for the city. This is how a lot of working builders actually fund their project today. Bank debt is a small slice, maybe 20-25%. Macro syndication covers another 30 or 40. The builder's own cash covers the rest. The bank is a tool in the toolkit, not the only one door. So think about this as a solution as well. So the lesson of this video is very simple. The banking system isn't going to change to accommodate your first-time builder's need. That door stayed locked, but there are 4 ways through it: cash, GC partnership, flip detour, cheap build, and one way around it entirely with private lending and syndication. So guys, if you have made it this so far, you are serious about this and about building. So here is something I put together for you. I built a very simple questionnaire, really to help you figure out whether you are actually ready to be approved by a bank or not. And if you fill out it, I also will share with you a free presentation with extra detail how construction loan work across different states. There are no costs, I just want this to actually help you to get your build funded. The link in the description below as always. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments or email me directly. I read everything and I'll see you next one.